Jenna and I are we're just really still feeling blessed and in flow from an in-person Tu B'Shvat Seder that we held last night. You can maybe see the tablescape here full of ponderosa pines from the land I grew up on, and our local farmer Becca brought us olive branches. So we're bringing all of these in to share with you. And I'm just going to give us a little overview and then we can really go into learning with Jenna and then go into the four cups and the four worlds and all of our fruits and our smells and all of our goodies. So for those of you that I don't know, I'm Mitten Lowe, and Jenna and I co-facilitate in-person and virtual moon medicine ritual. And this is the first of our three full moon holidays that Jenna and I really, really, really love this season, like this really beautiful flow. So, just a little opening that we have been just arriving out of the deepest and darkest time of the winter. We've left Tevet, our most stagnant month, where we may have been feeling completely unmoving and unopen and maybe unclear. Maybe there was a lot of anger. Maybe there was a lot of frustration. And in the new moon, Rosh Chodesh Shvat, we started to feel this very teeny, slow, trickling movement of our sap moving. And now we've arrived at the full moon and this beautiful holiday celebrating the trees, but really the flow of the sap. And Jenna's going to really deepen in on our learning on this together. But I want to hold for us, this is actually the beginning of an incredible and beautiful moon journey that will take through our next full moons together. And so as we arrive in Tu B'Shvat, what we're really beginning to feel is the sap of our inner selves, our blood, our lymph flowing, our creativity beginning to rise. We arrive next after this in Adar, my favorite, favorite, favorite month in the Hebrew calendar. For those of you that know, my littlest one was born on Purim. My Hebrew name is Miriam Esther. It's a deep approach then into our next full moon holiday of Passover or Pesach. So we're arriving into our own inner matriarchal trees today as we prepare to approach our queendom. And then as we prepare to fully take our seat in our throne and arrive as our inner seer, our inner Miriams, our the part of us that knows our own prophetess, like this part that can see forward. So begin to start holding that in your sap before we begin our Seder, that we're having a beautiful journey through starting with the trees and these beautiful full moon, feminine, very bright, very young holidays that accelerate us into joy and freedom. And this rising is the foundation of that, like the moving from the roots into joy and freedom. So, welcome to that piece. And we'll just start to practice and embody that. And Jenna will talk much more about this later, but we are in our fifth month in our moon medicine cohort. Some of you are from moon medicine, and we journey together through seasons to wholeness, through the new moons and the full moons of the Hebrew calendar, through the feminine lens, and through the body, mind, spirit, and with plants. So we'll really be building that in today. We'll really be working with the plants and the fruits and feeling the embodiment and the deep blessings, like our blessings that we're saying, like, thank you so much to the Creator for the fruit of the vine. Thank you so much to the Creator for the fruit of the tree. It's literally like magic. It's so miraculous. This energy that Tu B'Shvat brings us, this reciprocity that we learn from the trees and the flow of the trees. And I had this when I was enjoying some ceremonial cacao, really great tree medicine this morning. I had this relationship with trees like, what if you fed me and I fed you, which is exactly what we do with trees? And what if all of our world was in this overflow of the feminine? And I was so fully nourished by you, and you were so fully nourished by me. And this way that we learn from the trees and the fruit, and we'll travel through these worlds and the cups together of being in overflow and abundance. And we will embody that with our sap, we'll embody that with our roots and our trunk and our branches, and we'll end with our fruit and our matriarchal tree. And the matriarchal tree at the end is our ultimate intention to start approaching Adar. Like, how can I be my most queenly self, where I bring joy and healing and truth and reciprocity to all of those around me? So, welcome to Moon Medicine. Welcome to this beautiful full moon. Welcome to the birthday of the trees. And I'm going to turn it over to Jenna. She can also introduce herself for those of you that don't know her. And just thank you for joining us. This is truly, Jenna and I were saying last night, it's truly in such pleasure, which is a really important embodiment also for Tu B'Shvat. It's really in our pleasure to be doing this with all of you.
Thank you, Mitten. If you don't have a Seder guide printed, I'm putting the virtual one in the chat so you can follow along as we go through the four cups and the four spiritual worlds. And as Mitten said, it's really no coincidence that right now we're journeying through this Seder with four cups, and then just 2 months later, in Nisan on Passover, we also have four cups of wine at a Seder. It is not coincidence, but our sages teach that really right now is the initial arousal of redemptive energy that becomes in full fruition when we're sitting at the Passover Seder. So you may notice that we're going to be working with many fours today. And Tu B'Shvat in general is a month of fours. And four in the number in the mystical Judaism really represents the number of inter-inclusion of many parts, of following the cyclical sacred rhythms, being in tune with nature, not a part of it, not separate from it, and bringing wholeness through the four seasons, the four elements, the four directions, and in Kabbalah, the four spiritual worlds, which we'll talk about. So we'll be moving through the number four. And of course, why we're here today is to celebrate one of the four New Years in the Hebrew calendar, because Judaism believes there's not just one major chance to renew and restart and reboot our lives, but there are four major chances. There's four New Years, again, this number of wholeness and cyclical rhythms. And really, we have every breath cycle as a mini Rosh Hashanah, a mini renewal, because the Kabbalists say really every breath, God is blowing new life into us, recreating the world, and we have a chance to start a new cycle with every breath. So we're going to begin with the breath practice to really tune into this moment of Tu B'Shvat. There are four parts of the breath that correspond with the four seasons. And as we do this breath practice, you may notice that you resonate more deeply with one season, that maybe you're in an inner season that's different from the season around us, and just noting where you are in your own inner cyclical rhythm. You may notice one part of the breath feels more accessible and easeful, and maybe one part feels like there's more resistance or challenge. And as we do this breath together, we can visualize these four seasons and how they all contribute to the whole. So if you are comfortable closing your eyes, I invite you to do so, just to really come into your inner worlds, finding a comfortable seat. You're always welcome to lie down. But if you're sitting in your chair, feel grounding through the feet and through the sit bones. Let your heart rest at the back of the chair. You can imagine this full moon above us and the Adamah, the earth beneath us. And letting your palms rest either on the thighs or on the body, wherever they land, that feels natural and effortless. And together we'll start by clearing the lungs, emptying out all the air from the body to start on empty. And we'll draw the air in and up, inhaling through the season of spring, revival, renewal. Hold at the top of the lungs. This is our summer where we're full and radiant and spilling over with life force. And then exhaling through the season of autumn, letting go, falling back down towards the earth. And pausing at the bottom of the exhale, our deep, still winter. Again, inhale through the season of spring like something's budding and growing within you. The air is lifting up and out. Hold at the top of your lungs, full of breath in our full shining summer, radiant, alive. Exhale through autumn, like leaves falling down the spine, moving towards the roots. Pause at the bottom of the exhale, resting on empty. And go ahead and do this breath cycle at your own pace through each season. Slow at your own rhythm. And you can stay in stillness or allow some micro movements in the body. Maybe you want to undulate the spine or lift the hands up during spring and down during autumn. Whatever feels like you can accentuate each side of the breath. And noticing what part of the breath feels more accessible and easeful, or what season you're most resonating with. And for these next few breath cycles, I want you to really extend the bottom of the exhale in our deep winter and notice that very subtle transition from the bottom of the exhale to the initial stirring of spring, that moment of Tu B'Shvat, when we really allow ourselves to rest in winter. The inhale is effortless. The spring is a gift. So, really being intentional about that subtle shift from empty to the filling up of the lungs. And what does that rejuvenation feel like in your body? Where do you feel the uprising, the spring, the rejuvenation? And this is the magic of Tu B'Shvat, that there's a stirring of sap beneath the surface, so subtle, a dark and slow trickle beneath the surface, re-energizing and taking one more cycle of breath, honoring each season, deeply inhaling through the spring, celebrating our full summer expression, honoring the fall where we have to let go and let something die and move towards stillness, pausing at the restful, dark winter. And then gently opening your eyes and just acknowledging your inner season, where you are, not needing to rush it, not needing to move forward before you're ready. And knowing that this holiday of Tu B'Shvat marks that subtle shift. The Gemara says the saraf, which is the sweet sap, the nectar of life, begins to rise up the trees through the roots. And we are also representative of these trees. It says human is a tree of the field in Deuteronomy. So our inner tree is slowly being revitalized. And sometimes that sap rising can feel like creativity and inspiration and joy, and it can feel really exciting. And other times when we move from this frozen to fluid state, it can also bring up some toxicity or something that needs to arise that maybe was stagnant through the winter. So just honoring whatever needs to come forward to move and flow. We may feel sorrow or grief that needs to come forward, and we may just feel joy and inspiration. So that is all welcome here. And I just wanted to give a little explanation for why we're celebrating the birthday of the trees right now, one of the New Year's. There's an obvious question that our sages have posed, and is the elephant in the room, which is, why are we celebrating Tu B'Shvat now when the roots are frozen and the trees are bare, and not in Nisan in a few months when we start to say the blessings on the budding trees, or when we start to see the fruits and the blossoms? Why aren't we celebrating the birthday of the trees in the spring when we see that life? And our sages really teach that this holiday is a training of emunah, of faith, to look at a tree in the dead of winter and see the heart of it, and have faith that this tree will produce fruits. There's even a debate in the Talmud, in the Gemara, the Oral Torah, that says, Rabbi Hillel says we should be celebrating Tu B'Shvat right now on the 15th of Shvat, on the full moon, when the sap begins to stir. But Rabbi Shammai says we should actually be celebrating Tu B'Shvat, or the birthday of the trees, on the 1st of Shvat, which was 2 weeks ago, on the new moon. He says if the whole point is about emunah and recognizing the potential, then we should be celebrating the trees before the sap even begins to stir. Of course, Rabbi Hillel won, and we're celebrating today. But the idea is this holiday is about the potential of the potential. To look at a tree and say, I already see your fruits and light. I'm already celebrating you. And we get to offer that same perspective towards ourselves and practice seeing those eyes of emunah in others, because we're all trees of the forest. And if you've ever been in a really lowly place, an inner winter, a place where you're not contributing anything, and someone sees you with these eyes of emunah and says, I'm looking at you and I'm already celebrating your breakthroughs and your gifts and your offerings, even when you are in the dead of winter, that is the biggest gift you can have from a friend, from a mentor, from a Rebbe, and to ourselves. So this is all a training of seeing past the physical into the heart of something, into the potential of the potential. And this is how the divine always sees us. One of our favorite names of the divine that in Seasons to Wholeness is Be'er L'chai Roy, the living well of the one who sees me. The living well of the one who sees me, meaning God always sees us in the potential of the potential. When we're not offering anything, the divine is always looking at us and seeing our fruits and breakthroughs way before they happen. And part of the Tu B'Shvat Seder is to activate these eyes of Emunah and to use what's known as our dimyon, our holy imagination, to look at something but see beyond. And the Zohar says, Dimyon is what distinguishes us between any other species in creation, that we can see the possibilities even when they're not there. And, and that's why so much of the Tu B'Shvat Seder is about our holy imagination, moving through the worlds and imagining the fruits and the exotic, luxurious pleasures that will soon to come, imagining our healing and our gifts that will arise in the spring. It's all about activating our dimyon. Yes, what a profound gift. So we are going to turn to our Seder to the page with the overview of the four cups, with the four spiritual worlds. And in just a moment, I'll teach you the four worlds niggin. I'm not a singer, but we can all join in together from our homes. And this will help us move from one world to the next. These four spiritual worlds, if you're new to Kabbalah, you may know them. And if you're completely new to this, these four worlds are not different places, but really they're all different dimensions of the deeper reality of what is here right now, deeper ways of seeing, of experiencing the worlds. And even though Kabbalah breaks these worlds up into four, within each world, there's many, many levels, madrego, and many, many worlds within the worlds. But in general, if you look at the graph, we have the worlds of Atzilut, the worlds of oneness and emanation. We have the worlds of Bria, the worlds of creation, the worlds of Yetzirah, the worlds of formation, and the worlds of Asiya, the worlds of action. These are all deeper realms of what is here right now. And the whole purpose of the Seder is to bring the lofty oneness of Atzilut, the world of emanation, into the most physical of places. So even in the pit of a fruit, can we experience God's oneness? In the sap beneath the roots, can we perceive the Atzilut? The world of Atzilut, which we think is in heaven and way up there, is also deep under the dark surface in the roots. And the oneness trickles down through all of these levels. There's different customs. Some people like to ascend through the worlds from Asiya to Atzilut, and other traditions or customs like to draw down the worlds from Atzilut to Asiya, from the higher to the physical. And that's what we're doing today, because we really believe that the whole Tu B'Shvat Seder is not about transcending or escaping, but it's rather bringing divinity and the consciousness of oneness into our pleasure and taste, and into the tablescape and the beauty and the pines and the candles. There's a story in the Gemara of a great sage named Ruchamiah who traveled through these spiritual worlds, and he journeyed into Upper Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden above. And he met all the angels and moved through the Sphiro and the Tree of Life. And after his big, beautiful journeys, he came back and his students asked him, Ruchamiah, where is paradise? And he said, Hineni, right here. So we're not looking to escape to the world of souls and angels, but rather we're bringing them, inviting them here with us in our taste and embodied sensation. When we learn about these four spiritual worlds and the book of Sefer Yetzirah, this mystical, cryptic, ancient text that describes the tree of life and the Sphirot, even in the most spiritual of texts, it warns us. It says, if your heart runs, return to the place. So if you are running and looking for a better place up there, that's not the point. It's about returning to the place, Hamakom. And that's one of the names of God, Hamakom. We can experience divinity and oneness in this place. And that is the purpose of the Seder, is to draw that oneness of Atzilut into Hamakom Hazeh, this place, this fruit, this sensation, and have immense pleasure as we do. So if you look at the Four Worlds Niggin, we're just going to do the first paragraph, and I'll just teach it to you and you can practice it once, and we'll use it to move through each of these four spiritual worlds. So it goes like this: Earth, Asiya, water, Yetzirah, air, Bria, and fire, Atzilut. Your turn. Earth, Asiya, water, Yetzirah, air, Bria, and fire, Atzilut. Beautiful. So before we pour our first cup of white wine, and when we move from the higher to the lower, from the worlds of oneness, we're going to use all white. And then as we become more physical and an embodied, we add more red. Whether you're using grape juice or wine, we'll like bring it darker and denser into more of the feminine. I wanted to point out that every Hebrew month there's an embodied sensation that is an invite into knowing the divine. And King Solomon says, know God in all your ways. It's not enough to know God in the study hall or in prayer, but can we also know God through taste and intimacy and pleasure and bring God into our sensations? And so every Hebrew month has a hush, a spiritual sense to rectify and connect with God with. And the hush of this month of Shvat is taste, le'ita, which is a word that is not just eating, but tasting with pleasure. And there's my favorite line in Tehillim. It says, taste and see that the divine is good. So can we slow down and in the taste, in the sensations, see that infinity is really in these amazing glimmers of fruits that we have. God could have just created one fruit for the entire world, but instead we have millions of variations of colors and textures and energies of fruits. And we get to experience the divine in these yummy, yummy, juicy sensations. And our Kabbalists say the Tu B'Shvat Seder is really rectifying the first downfall of humanity, which is when Chava ate from the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden. And because the downfall of humanity happened through taste, we get to elevate and bring back and rectify taste by eating through the tree of life paradigm. So we can either eat from the tree of knowledge, which is self-serving, taking and cutting ourselves off from the source of the pleasure, or we can take a fruit and recognize, oh, really, behind this pleasure is oneness, is the source of abundance, is the source of our pleasure. And we see God, and we see this as a divine connection and invitation to be in communion with the creator of the fruit, which is why we say so many blessings during the Seder. Baruch atah really means you are the source. We take the fruit and say, you are the source, Hashem, of these colors and textures and pleasures. And the tree of knowledge and the tree of life really only have one difference. And that is that the tree of knowledge does not have roots, and the tree of life is connected through the roots. So to be connected to our source of nourishment, the oneness, the interconnectedness, and to not take from a place of lack or gripping or self-serving, but rather being a channel of flow, connected to our roots, our place of nourishment and openness, is really what the tree of life mentality is. And I'm just going to show you a picture from Sarah Yehudit Schneider, who shows us This is the tree of knowledge, trunk, branches, and fruit. And the tree of life is connected through the roots as well. So it's just one step to connect to the tree of life, recognizing the source. And then we are rectifying this downfall of humanity, really, and bringing oneness back to our collective consciousness. Of course, we're celebrating the trees around us as sacred allies, the trees on their birthday as givers of medicine and shelter and teachers of how to grow and contribute in this world. And we encourage you all after this to go and hug a tree, kiss a tree, be with the trees. But the Mishnah says that Tu B'Shvat is the Rosh Hashanah of the Ilan, not the Ilanot, plural, not the birthday of the trees, but the birthday of the tree, the singular tree, referring to the tree of life. And the tree of life is not just outside of us, but it's also inside of us. It's the cosmic blueprint of creation. It's how the divine trickles light into the world. It is a map of our energetic body and our energy centers. It's how we relate to the divine. And on Tu B'Shvat, the Kabbalists see God as a tree and the sap as divine light running down through its branches. So I'm going to read you one quote. It's on your page. We're going to turn to our page of the first cup of roots. And then we will do our opening prayer. But if you look at the quote under roots, it talks about really the difference between a tree and the human soul, which is like an inverted tree. So whereas a tree's roots are downwards, a human soul, our roots really are up and above. So the tree of life is really like an inverted tree. We receive our nourishment and sustenance from heaven above. Haya, do you want to read the quote from, it's on the under roots from the Maharal? It says, in truth, man, and you can change man to human to include all of us.
I'm just looking for it on the
Cup
roots.
1, roots.
In truth. In truth, man, each human being and all humanity, can be likened to a tree. As it is written, Ki ha'adam etz ha'sadeh, for man is a tree of the field, Deuteronomy 20:19. The difference is that man is an inverted right-side-up tree. The roots of a physical tree are in the ground, whereas man's root is above. For the neshama, divine soul, is a man's shoresh, root, and it is in heaven, i.e., in his head, which corresponds to the spiritual dimension. His hands are thus like his main branches, and his feet are the smaller limbs that branch off from these. His torso is the trunk of his tree. Why is this important to understand? The root of a physical tree is below. It receives its sustenance from the ground below. Man's soul, on the other hand, draws its life force from heaven.
Thank you, Haya.
It's beautiful.
I know it's an interesting picture of human, but what I take from this is that we receive nourishment in both directions, really. We have roots below, but we also have roots above. There's oneness above, there's oneness below. There's the sap of life below, and there's the life force above. And we're like the trunk in the middle that get to receive from both directions. And in the words of Sarah Yehudit Schneider, she says, to eat from the tree of life is to stay present with the presence, to bring the deveku, the oneness of gratitude, into every instant of enjoyment. So this is a moment, this Seder, where we get to receive from both directions of our roots and really open the channel of those roots and draw in new energy and nourishment. So we're going to read our opening prayer. If you turn back a page, it says opening prayer to the Seder. This is from the Pre-Eitz Hadar, the fruit of the majestic tree, which is the first published Tu B'Shvat Seder in 1653 in Greece, attributed to Rabbi Chaim Vital, who's a student of the Arizal, of the Lurianic Kabbalah lineage. Melissa, do you have the packet? Is it okay if you read the an honorary moon medicine member here?
Sure. I'm going to read it from my screen. Please God, who makes and forms and creates and emanates the higher worlds, and in whose form and pattern you created their model on the earth below. You made all of the worlds with wisdom, higher above and lower below, to join together the tent to become one. And you made trees and grasses bloom from the ground in the shape and pattern of what is above, to make known to the children of Adam the wisdom and discernment in them, to reach what is hidden. And you drop upon the trees and the grasses the flow and power of your highest qualities, so we will discern the spiritual strength which is within them. And from your fruit will come the fruit to bring life and nourish the body. May it be willed from you, our God and God of our ancestors, that by the power of the merit of eating the fruit which we now eat and bless, and are meditating upon the secret of their roots above upon which they depend, that you will make the flow of desire and blessing and free energy, Shefa, flow over them, to return again to make them grow and bloom from the beginning of the year until the end of the year, for good and for blessing, for good life and peace. Look out from your holy abode and bless for us this year for good and for blessing. Bring upon us a blessing of goodness. May the might and majesty of the blessings for eating the fruits become lights in the wellspring of blessings, the cosmic tree, life of the worlds, and may the whole tree return now to his original strength, and may the strength of its rainbow return, and may we see the bough joyful and beautified with its colors, and from there may the flow of desire and compassion flow over us, for blessing, for life, for forgiveness. And may all the sparks scattered by our hands or by the hands of our ancestors be returned to be included in the majestic glory of the tree of life. May it be your will that you will make the flow of desire and blessing and free, overflowing energy flow over the fruits of the trees. Then the trees of the forest will sing out, and the whole will return to its original strength, and all will join together as one.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Melissa, that was beautiful and such a beautiful opening prayer. And it does mention the fruits. And in the tree of life, we have the 7 species of Israel, which represent these energetic centers on the tree of life. And they're also known as the 7 ancestral fruits. So if they are not your ancestral fruits, you can invite in your own ancestral fruits. But our Kabbalists teach that as we're eating these fruits, they actually resonate with certain and activate certain centers and energies in our body. So we have chesed, which is kindness, activated by the wheat. That's like through the right arm, our giving arm. Then we have barley, which activates the left side of strength and severity and withholding, the left arm. Grapes, which activate Tiferet, the heart space, our beauty and harmony. Then we have Netzach, the right leg, which is activated by figs and represents perseverance and moving forward. The left leg, which is in the tree of life, Hod, or humility. We eat pomegranates, the rimon, to harmonize the left side. Olives activate Yesod, which is our sexual power, our foundation, the bedrock. And then dates are the divine feminine, Malchut. So it's a fun way to just, as we're eating fruits, they're doing something to our energetics to bring wholeness and help us come to our inner tree, the inner column of balance and harmony. So we are going to start with our first cup. We can sing the niggin together, and we will fill up the first cup of wine or grape juice with all white. So I'm going to sing. You can sing with me. Earth Asiya, water Yetzirah, air Bria, and fire Atzilut, filling up with all white. The world of Atzilut, oneness, emanation, represented by the season of spring and the element of fire. I'm just looking at my flame right now, inviting in fire and warmth. The soul level of Chaya, Chaya, the Hebrew letter of the Yud that activates this world. So we'll say the blessing for the wine. You can hold your cup up. And if you prefer to say your own blessing or just say Baruch Atah, you are the source, that's welcome. Otherwise, you can say with us, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And drink that yummy yumminess. Really feeling the juice or wine on your taste buds and moving down your throat and ingesting the yumminess of the grapes. And for the worlds of emanation, we're not going to eat any fruits because we're still in that place of oneness without duality. So we are going to make a blessing on smell, besamim. You can have, if you have rosemary, you can bring it, or I have some sacred tree oil that Mitten's father made with ponderosa pine. So anything that smells yummy, smell is our most lofty sense. The only scent that didn't fall during the Garden of Eden downfall remains as pure and intact as it was in the Garden of Eden. So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim. Take a deep smell, filling yourself up with nourishment from the worlds of Atzilut, of oneness. And as you smell, you can gently close your eyes and keep smelling as we come into the first part of our tree, which is the roots. So perhaps you can visualize an ancestral tree or a tree that you once witnessed or loved, or an imaginary tree. And imagine sitting or laying next to the tree's roots as you sit or lie down. And let those deep breaths descend you down deeper into the level of your roots. So visualizing roots growing down and wide from the hips or soles of feet, or even the back of the heart. And these roots are all interconnected beneath the surface. There's an intelligence and a communication between all the trees of the forest. Oh, sinking your awareness deeper and deeper into the roots, dark, mysterious. Maybe your roots are frozen and still. Or maybe there's a trickle of movement beginning to stir at the level of your roots, like a trickle of saraf, of sap. And as we breathe through the level of the roots, let's see if we can open the roots to draw in some of this new nourishment of sap and life force. Like a new energy that's stirring and flowing in and up through the roots. We cannot possibly carry life on our own. We need these wider systems of support. to hold us and sustain us. And just like we have these deep roots that open us up to nourishment and belonging below, we also have those roots above that connect us to Atzilut, the heaven above, the oneness above. So simultaneously, we'll visualize roots growing up and out from the crown of the head, the space of oneness beyond time and space. And just like there's a movement, a stirring of sap from below, there's also a new life force and energy awakening from above. Perhaps you notice it's easier to connect to the roots above or the roots below, just noting. We have both of these directions that provide us nourishment. The oneness above, the oneness below, the sky and the earth. There's Atzilut and oneness above. There's Atzilut and oneness even in the dark trickle of sap beneath the surface. Opening the roots a little wider, allowing the flow to come towards us, Shefa, abundance. Really allowing ourselves to begin to receive. And keep breathing. Maybe you feel a flow at the roots. We can also give that energy towards others here. It's where our health really relies on the health of the whole forest. So we're giving and receiving through the roots. And our trunk is in the middle space between the roots above and the roots below. We'll deepen the breath for a few cycles. And just know that if your roots are still frozen and there's no trickle of sap yet, that's okay. We don't need to rush. It's a dark and slow process. So honoring wherever you are. And if the sap is beginning to stir, invite it towards the torso, towards your trunk, as we breathe it and draw it towards ourselves. And don't worry, we'll have a full world to come into the trunk. But as we draw the sap towards ourselves, we'll take one more deep breath to really fill up, opening through the roots. And then as we gently open the eyes, but stay grounding through the roots, we get to move to the next world, towards our trunk. So you can sing with me. Earth Asiya, water Yetzirah, air Bria, and fire Atzilut. Go ahead and fill up your glass with mostly white wine and a drop of red. And we can bring out our first fruit, which is anything wholly edible. So a grape, a fig, a blueberry, a pear, a raspberry, a strawberry. Okay, and when you're ready, you can hold up your cup, entering this next world of Bria. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
And as we drink, see if we can let the wine or grape juice trickle in through the torso into the trunk. And Bria, we get to open these avenues of creativity. This is the season of summer, the element of air, so bringing in lots of deep breaths. And it's customary to say Shechianu on a new fruit, a blessing on a new fruit. Do we have anyone who wants to say the Shechianu? Haya? Yeah. Okay,
My
thank you.
favorite one.
Yes, I saw your smile. So,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Beautiful. And then a blessing on the fruit. Do you want to sing that one too for the fruit? No. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'etz.
Amen.
Mm.
Or if you
You
have a
can
strong
always just
prayer,
say,
something,
you are
Adama,
Adama.
depending on what fruit you have.
Mhm. You can also just say, you are the source. Baruch atah, you are the source. Baruch comes from the word bricha, which is wellspring. So we're saying like, you are the wellspring. You are the source of this bounty. Mm. And once you have the fruit, you can close your eyes as you really allow the sensation of taste on your tongue to be really present with the embodied sensation. And we'll come right back to where we left off. The sap through our roots was just approaching the trunk. Can bring the palms onto the torso. So maybe one hand on the heart, one hand on the low belly, inviting in vitality, warmth, nourishment towards the trunk of your tree, the core of who you are. And Tiferet is the heart of the tree. So if you're eating grapes, we're really activating that heart space, but inviting in this energy of the tree of life of Tiferet, which is in the center of the tree, that connects above and below, right and left, and represents our ultimate harmony and beauty, the soft and the strong. So as we breathe through the trunk, let's see if we can make the front of the torso, the front of the heart so soft and permeable that if a flower or a rose petal or a butterfly were to land on our chest, we could receive it with full gentleness. That's how soft we are. And we also have a sturdiness to the trunk that if there was a windstorm blowing at our back, we would remain sovereign in our trunk, upright. We'd remain upright and sturdy through a storm. So letting that breath flow as we feel the harmony between Chesed and Gevura, between the softness and our strength. You may even want to rub the palms, stirring the sap. Or rubbing the hands up and down from the womb to the heart. Just inviting renewal and sap through the trunk. And when we have a healthy trunk, a permeable front, a sturdy back, we can allow the center column, the inner tree, to open. So really accentuating the breath from root to crown, like a flowing mist, clearing out anything that needs to be cleared, inviting in anything that needs to be renewed, opening through the center channel with every breath. And some like to visualize this as the flowing mist, or some people visualize the center column as a column of light, or just a clear, still presence. So renewing our inner tree through the breath. And if there's anything that needs to die and leave the trunk, we can just recycle it back through the roots, clearing it down. And then really deepening as we connect through the roots, inviting in nourishment up through the center column. Every breath coming into the state of healing, coming back to our equilibrium. And all of these parts of the tree that we move through, we'll get to draw at the end of our time together, so we can start to think about what makes us the core of who we are. What is the trunk of our tree? What are our core values? What is our center being? Just beginning to let those questions stir. And we'll take one more sweeping breath from the roots all the way through the crown on the inhale. And then from the crown back down through the root on the exhale. And then gently opening our eyes as we move into our next worlds. Ready? We'll sing Earth Asiya, Water Yetzirah, Air Bria, and Fire Atzilut. And I'll turn it over towards Mitten to lead us in our branches and then our fruit.
Thank you, love. Thank you. Thank you. I'm feeling deep in my inner tree and that juiciness, moving into our third cup and deepening into the world of Yetzirah, of feeling, of formation. We're going to pour half and half white and half red of grape juice or wine, or it looks like Chaya is using tea. This place of balance between light and dark and good and evil. And our fruits are the fruits that we can eat the whole thing with the exception of the pit. So I have olives and dates, but maybe you have an apricot or what else is in there? A peach. There's so many. Think of a fruit with a pit. And first we'll say the blessing over the wine. Is there anybody that would like to say it? Okay, say it with me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pari hagafen. Amen. Feel that balance place, because as we move into this world and into moving towards the branches, we want to stay in balance. So the light and the dark, it's like the yin and the yang, the high and the low, the warm and the cold. Right in the center is our balance. And in our inner tree, we want to hold the balance. And as we bring our fruits, our fruits with pits, but everything else is edible, just maybe tune into what part of you might be in the center, might be a pit. Is it something that you're judging? Is it something that you've deemed as wrong? Or can we see it as potentiality, right? Like the pit is just the potential on the inside. And we can say this blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pari ha'etz. Amen. Thank you so much to the Holy One for the fruit of the tree. And olives and dates are very much my ancestral fruits. So that's what I chose. And as you bring that deliciousness in, just let it start to move your sap. Let it start to move your blood. Breathe deeply. You can start to close your eyes while you're still chewing. See if you can really lean into, like, what does the taste bring you? If you don't have something that you're tasting, just close your eyes and help yourself arrive in relationship of that favorite fruit of yours that has a pit and a fully edible rest of fruit. And just see what you feel. And wherever you are, bring your attention to re-anchoring your feet, your roots, and beginning to move your trunk. Start to feel your own inner tree. Bring yourself into presence. Because we're moving towards our branches. In your inner tree, this is the part where we start to extend ourselves into the world. It can be tricky if we haven't been pulling ourselves up full of abundant sap and nourishment and sweetness and juiciness. It can be tricky, not even yet fruiting, but like, can we really produce our branches and our leaves if we haven't nourished through the winter? So just breathe into that. Like, do I need to keep wintering? Am I ready to start to extend myself into the world? And you can close your eyes and bring your arms up. See how it feels. There's no right or wrong. It might be tiring. It might hurt. It might feel so good. But really notice and breathe deeply. And maybe sigh on the exhale and see what happens to your feet, your roots, and your trunk, your torso. If you extend yourself, do you have to rebalance? Do you feel like you're losing or using energy? Just notice. And notice that the branches come out of the heart. So you can put your hands on the heart and just take some deep breaths. And ask yourself with eyes closed, how do I choose to extend myself into the world in a way that's balanced, right? We've got this cup. It's half white, half red, with this intention of really bringing our true selves into the world, preparing to fruit. And before we prepare, we get to really tune in about what's here. So give yourself a moment and some deep breaths. Ah, and sigh on the exhale. See what you notice. Sometimes we might notice that we actually don't have any capacity or sap or chi to extend. The invitation is there is just to keep wintering. And maybe we feel like there's a little bit to extend in our branches, and the invitation there is to just go slow. Maybe there's a lot to extend, and then you can really extend your arms again and breathe deeply, all without judgment. Just like how we started with Jenna in our 4-season breath. Like, where am I in my seasons? And just realign into your sacred body, your sacred tree, your inner tree of life. And we're going to move towards our fruiting and our embodiment of our tree of life through the feminine, which Jenna and I call the matriarchal tree. And you can breathe long and slow and deep and just arrive with curiosity at our 4th cup. Like, what's my fruit? I find that the question of what's my fruit comes with the most judgment of self. Am I fruiting enough? Is my fruit delicious? Do people like my fruit? Am I bringing fruit to the world at my expense? There's so much here. So I really want to hold us in this compassionate place as if, and we are, my nervous system was the nervous system of a tree. And I know that all I have to do is root deeply, and that there are so many types of fruits. There's so much, even in just our time together, all of the fruits that we're tasting. And they're all so bountiful and they're so beautiful. And also, we're also all still one. We're not separate. We're all fruiting. We're all bringing ourselves. So our last cup, we're really journeying into all red. We're all purple. We're moving into the darkness. We're going into the world of Asiya, this place of like, what can I bring to the world? And we get to really ask the question, if I travel more deeply into the earth, what can I pull up to extend into my fruit? So what I love about this world is like, it's not about extending past self and trying to find something elsewhere. It's like, can I get deeper into the earth and bring nutrients up? Can I find sisterhood connected underneath the ground? And can I have this sense of reciprocity and sharing and connection with everyone around me, all of the roots, so that we can bring fruit to each other? And that question again, like, what if I'm feeding you and you're feeding me? What if I'm feeding you and you're feeding me? So go ahead and pour your 4th cup, all red.
Should we sing the niggin as we're
Oh yeah,
pouring?
sing it again. Thank you, love.
Sing with me. Earth Asiya, water Yetzirah, air Bria, and fire Atzilu.
Check in with your body. We're arriving in this place of fruiting. We'll say the blessing over the grape juice, the wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, barei peri hagafen. Amen. Thank you so much for the fruit of the vine. And our fruits this time are edible on the inside and they have a non-edible shell. So I brought pistachio and a cutie. And I'm going to say the blessing here. Anybody want to say the blessing of the fruit of the tree before I do it? Okay, say it with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, barei peri ha'etz. And a big breath. Amen. Bring that deliciousness in there. Spend some time savoring. If you have something to peel, spend some moments with the peel. What does it feel like for you? Do you have a part of you that is being peeled away as we move towards fruit, as we move towards spring? Was there a hard shell that kept you from fully being in your juiciness? Really notice the pleasure. I notice with my cutie, it's dripping, it's juicy, and I feel this like immeasurable gratitude. I'm like, wow, how magical is it that the trees make us juicy and crunchy, delicious fruits over and over and over, and we get to receive this miracle, this like absolute divinity. So as you're receiving, as you're tasting, take as many bites as you want. We're going to move into our fruiting selves. I'm still eating pistachios. I think in a Tu B'Shvat Seder, crunching is totally fine online. You know, just crunch, crunch, crunch. Find your juiciness and see if you can notice in your body this arrival into full and complete receiving. And just take your time in the slowness of the yin, the slowness of the feminine. Re-anchor to your roots. Re-anchor to your trunk. Start to feel your branches coming out of your heart center. And again, move into that extended state. If you want to do this standing up, I so welcome you to do this. Find your extended tree self, extending your branches towards the divine, feeling that sense of gratitude, of potential, of emunah, like what is possible here? What is possible here? How blessed are we? And we all have access to our fruiting selves. Check in with your blood and your lymph. Move your body a little bit and see if you can pull that blood and lymph all the way up to your fingertips and the top of your head, giving yourself some movement. And what does it feel like to feel enoughness or abundance, shefa? Like, is there flow? Ah. And the question you can ask yourself, and I welcome you to ask this out loud, is what if I can give so abundantly and not at the expense of myself? Because I am flowing with sap from the earth, from nutrients that I've pulled up from wintering so well when the sap was frozen, when the roots were frozen, when the ground was frozen, and I rested so deeply. Again, if you're in an extended winter, allow yourself to stay there. Trust your body. And we're not yet fruiting, but we're imagining this potential place. And I want you to just let your imagination flow. If you get tired, just put your hands on your chest and stay with your imagery. And then without any attachment, see what you see on the top of your head and the end of your fingertips. Does it look like fruit, like we think of fruit in the tree? Does it look like connection? Does it look like a creative project? Does it look like reorganizing something or drawing something? And just breathe that in. And then bring your hands back to your heart if they're not there. Anchor your feet, feel flow in your trunk, find movement in your inner tree. This part of you that can flow with the seasons and the weather patterns and the uncertainty. the light and the dark, the drought and the rain, and see if you can feel this embodied matriarchal tree. And this way of working with your own inner tree of life through the feminine that brings fruit and shade without hurting self, without overextending self, but being so fulfilled from the ground, from the air, from the compost, and just feel yourself being poured into. And take some deep breaths. And in your inner tree of life, be reminded that at all times, there's CO2 flowing in, there's nutrients flowing in, there's water flowing in. And how incredible that from those nutrients and that water and that CO2 that the trees make fruit slash glucose. How miraculous. Thank you, Hashem. It's so impossible, but it's true. Feel that flow of the teaching of the trees that we make fruit, and breathe deeply. See if you can connect your heart center with your womb space or your lower belly, feeling the sap up and down, like the blood flowing, like the lymph flowing. And then just arrive back, slowly open your eyes. And with your fully embodied matriarchal tree, and any part of you that's stuck in any season, welcome your whole self, the part of you that is preparing to fruit or feels like it's not yet time, the part of you that needs to extend winter, the part of you that sees the potential but doesn't know how that impossibility could possibly become a possibility. We plant that seed in Kislev, right? We begin to wonder in that darkness about the miracles. Let that beauty start to unfold. And we're going to have an opportunity to draw our own inner tree of life, our own matriarchal tree. Jenna's going to turn on some music for us. And if you don't have something to draw or write with, my invitation to you is to come back into your embodied tree with your eyes closed and really, really see who you are. What do the roots look like? Are they above and below? What does your trunk look like? Can you feel your protective bark? What will your fruit look like? What do your branches or your leaves or your needles look like? And we'll be excited to see what you create.
Yeah, also on your packet for each of the 4 parts, we have a few prompts. So if you are someone who's more contemplative, you could look at some of those prompts on each of the page as you're drawing, or if you would prefer to journal about them. So I'm going to turn a song on from, this is The Garden by Alana Brody. And I hope that
We were so blessed to sing with last night. That was a real treat to sing her songs with her at this Seder.
you hear my music, Mitten.
Love in the jeans that she wore, holes torn in the knees, out in the garden, planting seeds. Mama said to be a man here, gotta roll up your sleeves, go to the garden, upon us. See the valley, she's a turning to gold. You gotta go to the garden and harvest before the first snow. Pumpkins and sage, potatoes and thyme, raspberry canes and the grapes on the vine out in the garden. Well, the work's never done, but the good work gives us life. I found a friend in you, a friend to keep, music to listen to, the wind coming through the window when I sleep. I found a friend in you, a friend who receives me out in the garden. There is peace out in the garden.
Loves, you can continue drawing your tree. We also want to open it up for anyone who wants to share. We have probably 1 or 2 spots for shares if you want to just show your tree drawing and share either something you noticed about the flow or about your roots or your journey. Feel free to unmute.
Giovanna, I'll share. This was just absolutely so exquisite, just exquisite. Thank you so much. And just connecting with myself as the tree is just such a return. I'm still wintering. But the luminescence is rising. The sap is rising, and being at that moment of where stillness shifts to stirring. I'm right there. I am right there. So the timing is so perfect, and of a little bit of a drawing of what it's, I don't know, just light emerging and reflections and so forth, colors coming back. But this was exquisite. Thank you so much. I always feel so connected to my wholeness after and through these times together, and my femininity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining and sharing. And yes to wintering as long as you need to.
Giovanna is part of our Seasons to Wholeness Moon Medicine cohort, and it's been really such an honor to journey through sacred time together.
Any other shares? Or Yehuda?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are really honored that you are joining us. Maura Yehudis is a very beloved teacher of ours here in Boulder, Colorado, and a Kabbalah teacher. And I can't even say enough about you, but thank you for joining us. You know, we love you.
Thank you. This is so multidimensional. It's very rare. I think of as I age, all the health issues I have, I tell people the saving grace is they don't all come at once. So I tell them, wait your turn, line up. But in terms of positive things, it's wonderful to have all the senses being stimulated in a positive way at the same time. It's just so embodying. But can I share one little teaching that I love about Tu B'Shvat? So the teaching is in the beginning of creation. So the Torah says when God created the trees, the term that's used is Eitz Peri Osa Pri, a fruit tree giving forth fruit. but when it actually happened, it just said a tree producing fruit. It doesn't say a fruit tree producing fruit. So some of the sages say that originally the taste of the tree was supposed to be the same taste as the fruit. In other words, the bark itself was supposed to be edible. But since human nature being at it as it was, perhaps people would be too consuming of everything, and then there would be no trees left, if even the bark would be eaten. But there's a beautiful teaching from Rabbi Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel. He says that for what that means to us, that there's a process and there's a result. And very often we separate the process from the result. We think we know the result is good and we want to get there, but sometimes either we ignore or we get frustrated with the process. When is it going to be the end already? Forget about the process. So Rav Kook says if we want to go back to the garden, our consciousness should be that the process itself should be as enjoyable and as blissful as the dimayon of the ultimate goal that we're going to achieve. And that's how we get back to what's called Gan Eden, the garden of pleasure. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. And thank you for sharing. And thank you. Yeah, Laura. Is it Laura or Laura?
Laura. Yeah, you said it right. I just wanted to share that I drew a tree with roots. You can't see it with this blur, okay? But I found myself during the meditations getting a little distracted on if my roots were at my feet or if they were in my brain, knowing the tree of life is sometimes inverse. And I found myself getting distracted on like which one was up and down in my body and in my head and like what was right. And I noticed as I was drawing a tree root and then branches, and I hadn't drawn leaves yet. And I basically realized that I was doing the same thing, that it was kind of inversed in my drawing, and that my branches were actually my roots, and that I find there to be kind of a beautiful symbolism that I actually don't know the direction of my sap right now, and I don't know the direction of my branches and of my roots, and that it's actually the inverse happened in my drawing as well, but it's happening kind of in my body, that it almost feels synonymous of each other, or that the flow is just as important both ways. It doesn't have to be a right and wrong. So I found it interesting that my drawing kind of was the same as what I was visualizing as well, that there was that interplay of the direction.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and like holding that place. There is no right or wrong, and there is no high or low, but there is flow. And may we all be blessed to have flow in whatever direction, high and low, up and down. I feel like that's like wisdom for us. We're so attached to the linear version of up or down. And what about the balanced version of like, what if I just have flow in this system? What if my sap is moving? Thank you for sharing.
I just show the picture I drew.
Can you pull it up, Jenny?
Can you see that?
Oh, now we can.
Here. That's just what I drew.
It's like what
So,
Laura is saying. Yeah.
yeah, that's just what I was like, the energy. And, as you guys were getting into the different levels and layers and just how you guys are speaking, I just was seeing colors, rainbows, but from kind of cold to then the light, the sun, and then going down. And so that's why I drew it like that. But so a form, but not like a form, but a form of energy, and just the flow from above and below to above.
Yeah. Yeah. As above, so below. As within, so without. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, love.
Go ahead, Mira.
Hi. Thank you so much for this. This was beautiful. Yeah, and I also too have been wintering for quite a long time. And uh yeah, like as I was drawing the tree, it's like, oh, I want to draw this big, beautiful thing with extended branches. I'm like, no, I'm just making my roots thicker and darker, and they're getting stronger. And it's what I've been doing in my life for a long time. And it's also okay because as much as it's divine timing. It's not my timing. And so, I see also like I kind of drew like, just they're coming and they're kind of the hands. They're going up. They're sort of stretched to heaven and they're little sprouts. But really, I've been just forming deep roots. And it might not be now that it's flourishing, but it will. And as long as there's these little sprouts kind of forming, it really helps to know that the underlying process is what it is, and you can't force it more than time allows. And sometimes it's just patience and prayer and embodying what is. And I don't know why the path is slower and why winter is so long, but I do believe it is exactly where it's meant to be. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that share. And for you as well, blessing you to winter as fully and completely as you need to become your most nourished, well self, and to be able to bring that nourished, well self to the world when you're ready in divine time. There is no right or wrong time. It is only from the Creator, all of that nourishment. And the Creator is in the ground, right? Like there's so much in those roots, above and below. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
I so enjoyed considering what my fruit would look like. I've never thought about that. And I was really inspired by star fruit. I can show you, this is my tree. But then I went like up close to the fruit, and it was inspired by star fruit, kind of tangy and like yellow, but also rainbow. And like again, David. And um I've been in this stage of like almost fruiting and then like going back into winter, and one thing that I gained a lot of inspiration from was there's some of like this fear of being seen, was like if I think about something like star fruit and I want to be like this exotic tangy fruit, like not everyone is going to like it, and that is so okay, but it is exactly the medicine that like someone is going to need. um yeah, just feeling grateful to Starfruit, feeling grateful to you guys. Thank you.
You are such a star fruit to
You
us,
really
Sarah.
are a real star fruit. I love that. I was going to say the same thing. Like, I think you really nailed it with your fruit. I see you. I see your fruity version. Beautiful.
Thank you. And it was beautiful to share this with my mom. She had to run to the restroom, but I think she was really enjoying it as well.
I'm so glad. What a blessing to share this with our loved ones. Yeah, Zara, go ahead. You're still muted. There you go.
So I just drew like this little card. I don't know if that's like visible. So it's just olive tree because like human, that's like deep in my like ancestral line, olives. I also have a star fruit here, so I just thought that was really cool. Thank you for drawing a star fruit.
Yay.
Yeah. Thank you. Olive branching.
Beautiful. Laura, the masculine downward direction is Or Yashar, the light that comes down, and then Or Hoser is the feminine upward direction. Just referring to the chat. As we begin to close, I just wanted to give us a few pieces of homework, optional homework, but on the back of your packet is a beautiful fourfold song by Rev Cook, in the name of fours. After we moved through the four cups and the four season and the four elements, this is a fourfold song that really brings that nourishment from the song of the self through the song of the nation to the song of humanity, and then ultimately to the song of creation. And our world so needs our light and our prayers. So you can sing this at your own time or recite this at your own time. And please do go and hug a tree, kiss a tree, give an offering to a tree. And also, our new cohort of Seasons to Wholeness, Moon Medicine, begins Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is in a few months. So if you're interested in joining, it's a closed container that journeys through the cyclical seasons with Kabbalistic wisdom, plant-based, earth-based, feminine, um, through the new moon and full moon of each month. So I put it in the chat and I will do it again. And if you have any questions about it, reach out to us. We'd love to have you join us through these journeys. So thank you so much for coming. Tu
Thank
B'Shvat
you all for
Sameach.
coming. Yeah, thank you so much. It's really such a pleasure to be fully embodied in these ways with all of you, with the moons and the plants and the sweetness of the Hebrew calendar. And Jenna and I, every time, are in this place of such awe, yira, and gratitude about this beautiful work. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
And although we're closing, I'll stay here for a few minutes if anyone has any questions about Tu B'Shvat or about Seasons to Wholeness. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Happy Tu B'Shvat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jenna, I actually do have a question for you. So you were talking about the 7 ancestral fruits and how then it relates to like the different parts of the body and then a different like fruit or plant and then different part of the body. Do you have that written out anywhere or could you say it again slower? Because I
Yeah.
want to write it down.
Yeah, I do have a picture I could send to you, but I will say it again, and I could send the photo in this follow-up email to everyone who registered. I'll send the recording, and I can send a photo um, of it. There's a few different versions. So the one I use comes from Lurianic Kabbalah from the Arizal, but Sarah Yehudit Schneider, I'll send you both versions if you want. I have hers right here. And I'll send that to you also. But the one I go by that I really connect with is the right arm being chesed, which is wheat, the left arm being gevura, which is barley, the heart and torso being grapes, teferet, netzach being figs, which is perseverance through the right leg, the left leg being hod, the pomegranate, humility, the rimon, left leg, yesod being olives, which are our fertility and foundation and sexual power, and then dates being malchut, the divine feminine. So yes, I will send you a picture. You don't have to scribble it down. And I think of it as just a way to bring some of these subtle energy centers to life more and there's so many ways to access them. Each one also has an ancestral archetype and each one is connected with a certain color and a certain activation. And it's just one of many dimensions to come into your subtle body through this Kabbalistic wisdom. So yes, and there's different plants and herbs that connect to these centers, and it's such a dynamic system that it's a really fun paradigm to work with and coming into healing and balance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah, did you want to share something?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm curious. I know we were talking in the chat about Or Yashar and Or Chazer, and I'm curious about your decision to move through the world in this particular direction that we did, which is different from what I've used to, and if you consider that to be Or Chazer or Or Yashar.
Yeah. So at the beginning, we talked about there's the direction of going upwards and ascending. But Mitten and I go by the lineage of going downwards because we believe the purpose of the Seder is to draw down the oneness of Atzilut into the pit of the seed, into paradise being right here. And that story I shared about Ruhamia, who traveled through the world, and they asked him, well, where is paradise? And he said, Hineni, right here. We wanted the downward direction to be, we're bringing that consciousness of oneness into the physical plane, which is the Or Yashar direction. But in Tu B'Shvat, there's also the sap that's rising from the literal trees from Or Hoser, so from beneath the surface. But because the tree of life is an upside down tree, the sap is also renewing above. So both directions are totally valid, and you can play with both of them. And what I love about the Seder is because it's all based on custom, there's no right or wrong way to do it. And there's a lot of room for creativity and for different teachers like expressing their message in a different way. And we wanted the Seder to be like, we're not transcending and like leaving the fruits to Asiya, or to Atzilut, but we are coming more and more into like a grounded present state of enjoying taste and pleasures in this physical world of Asiya.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear if anyone has the perspective of going the opposite direction. You're welcome to share that also, and it's totally valid both ways. And different Haggadahs will actually guide you either upwards or downwards. So, Yehudis, did you want to share?
Yeah, there's a teaching from several Hasidic rabbis that talk about the distinction between Tu B'Shvat and the giving of the Torah, which we're actually reading this week. But one of the ideas is the giving of the Torah is more from above to below, but Tu B'Shvat is the birth of the oral Torah, which comes from below to above. So it is the idea of merging both, our personal contribution as well as what we're receiving from our tradition.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's beautiful. Any other thoughts or questions? We'll have a beautiful Tu B'Shvat. Thank you so much for being here. May our sap continue to stir and rise in all directions. And may we be like trees, growing continuously, contributing, deepening into our roots. Happy New Year. Happy birthday, trees. Thank you.